Greetings of peace. My name is Ra Imhotep, broadcasting on behalf of 13signsastrology.com. That's the number 13, signs plural, astrology.com. I'm doing this video because I want to touch on the connections that the so-called Illuminati, which I've said in other videos, which is really a group of extraterrestrial beings, but many of you believe that they're called the Illuminati, so we'll use the term the Illuminati, and their connections with religion. And religion has had a very strange connection with these aliens that control the affairs and the events that go on this planet, on the surface of this planet. I'm dealing with Western religion here because many people have researched the, especially like the Hindu religions and the Sanskrit texts, and we know that the Hindu religions and the Sanskrit texts fully embrace the doctrine of extraterrestrials coming from various star constellations to this planet and setting up demigods and intermediaries here on this planet to rule in their place. We know that many of the old tribal religions, such as the Dogon religion and the various religions in ancient Egypt and the various religions of South America and Peru, we know that they fully embrace these different religions, fully embrace that their gods came from the stars. So they don't question this at all. So I'm not dealing with them. What I'm going to deal with here is the Western religions, and mainly the three monotheistic religions, because it is from those different religious adherents that I get the most flack from when I teach about the aliens and the so-called Illuminati and their connections with the humans of this planet. And they say that it just couldn't be. They say that these so-called aliens are demons, and that basically if there are aliens, they're really just demons posing as aliens, and that there's no such thing as aliens. And it's mainly the religious adherents that I get most of my flack from. So I'm going to, in this video, briefly go into tidbits of history from the different monotheistic religions and their relationship, their direct relationship with these extraterrestrial beings. Now, like I said, it's a reason why the religions totally try to blind their followers from the extraterrestrial beings. And this is because at one point when the beings left, see, when these beings, they have different relationships with the world, or with different world powers at various different times. And what I mean by that is that right now, as far as like right now, the aliens are dealing with the governments. They're dealing with those that control the economics and the finance. They're dealing with this power. And when I'm speaking about these aliens, I'm talking about a certain group of aliens, because as I've talked about before, there's over 250,000, and really more than that, but as far as on this planet, there's over 250,000 species of aliens that are interested in human affairs right now, and that are actually here on this planet coming in and out that humans know nothing of. Because these aliens are millions of years ahead of humans. Their technology is way deeper and advanced than humans, and I'm going to go into that in other videos. But what I'm pointing out here is that it's a group, the group of aliens that controlling the surface of the planet Earth right now, are having more so a relationship with the scientists, with the world rulers, what you would call the elite. Now, at one point, it wasn't like this. The aliens left a pact, because they leave pacts with different governments and different entities at different times. And this is why at one point you see ancient Egypt was thriving at one point, and then you see like a decline in ancient Egypt, and then you see that the world power shifts to another place. It's always a shift into another place, and that's what I'm dealing with in this video. And that's because when they appoint these humans, which these aliens actually genetically modify humans, and I'm going to go into that. So when they appoint these humans, they set up pacts with these humans. And when these humans usually get too bold for their bridges and tend to overstep the boundaries of the aliens. They tend to think that, you know, the aliens leave them in charge, and once they build themselves up as a superpower, they tend to say, you know what, fuck you. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to do my own thing. You know what? Basically, we don't need these aliens. We can do without them. And then that's when the aliens come in and basically wipe their asses out and basically destroy them. Now I know this sounds rather sci-fi, but like I said, I mean, to those of you that know this information is real, like this is what I'm speaking and addressing those that really have a concern and know that it's something wrong on this planet and know that the government is not telling you everything. And this is who I'm speaking to. So what happened was that the aliens, they formed a pact with the religious adherents. They formed a pact with the religious adherents, and not really the religious adherents, but they formed a pact with certain humans that set up different schools of religions, and they set up intermediaries to be worshipped, and they formed a pact. Now, I'm going to go into Judaism a little bit. Now, one of the main concepts of Judaism is that all Jews across the planet deal with the Sabbath, or called the Shabbat, or the Sabbath. Now, this Sabbath was actually in honor of the extraterrestrial beings that created man. And they call this the Adama projects, or the Adamu projects. And the Adamu project actually started on Mars, believe it or not. And the government is not telling you this, but they have faces and pyramids on Mars. They have a face of the real Adam, which was Homo erectus. They have a face of the Homo erectus, which is the being that these aliens chose to add in their intelligence and their DNA, and they mixed the DNA of this Homo erectus with the DNA of a female alien and a male alien. And this is how humans, as we know it today, or as we look today, came about. This took place actually over various different experiments, but they started this experiment over 450,000 years ago, believe it or not. But they came in and out and kept updating this being or whatever, because there was various different problems and genetic defects when they started this project or whatever. Like, they would mix them with animals, and that's why you see in ancient Egypt or whatever, they have animal heads on many of the deities, because they would have a human body or a homo, basically a human body or whatever, or a humanoid body with a animal head on the top, like a monkey or, you know, a falcon head and things of that nature. And this is why the ancient Egyptians, you see like the symbol of Heru, he has a falcon head. And this is dealing with the experiments that these extraterrestrials, when they first came to this planet, they were dealing with various experiments. It took them a long time to really tweak and get this human species as we look today, to get us basically to the point of how we look today. It was various experiments that took place, and this was called the Adamu projects. So, and it started on Mars, but it finally reached its perfection and completion actually about 49,000 years ago, is when they finally perfected this version of humans, because there's various different versions of humans, and I don't have a lot of time to go into all of this right now, but I'm pointing out the 49,000 years for a reason. When you deal with the Jewish Sabbath, you're dealing with, it was supposed to be, they say that on the seventh day God rested. It took God 6 days to create humans, and on the seventh day, or to create man, and on the seventh day he rested. But what they don't teach you is that it was an extraterrestrial being, or beings called the Elohim, a group of beings that took place, or that took part in creating this human being, or this man. And it was under the banner of the Sabbath or whatever, as that they left this as a day that humans were to honor their gods, or the Elohim, on the seventh day, or the Sabbath, because actually each day was represented 1,000 years to the Elohim. Each day represented 1,000 years to the Elohim. So 7 days equals 7 times, basically 7,000 years or whatever is where I'm getting at. And some people say 49,000 years because each day was representative of 7,000 years, but I'm dealing with the 1,000 years. Each day was worth 1,000 years. So it took approximately 7,000 years for the Elohim to complete this version of humans and this aspect of human civilization. It took approximately 6,000 years, and on the seventh day they rested, which equals 7,000 years. Each day was a 7,000 Each day was 1,000 years, which equals 7,000 years. So what I'm getting at is that the Sabbath that the Jews honor is really dealing with, they're honoring the Elohim, or a group of extraterrestrial beings, which is basically humans' parents or whatever. And this is what the original Sabbath dealt with. See, this Sabbath practice really was borrowed from the Jews, and they got it from the Babylonians, because the Babylonians had a very thorough knowledge of their extraterrestrial parents and their extraterrestrial makers, or what you would call their gods. And this is where they got the whole Sabbath holiday from. It came from the Babylonian text. And they took it and basically put it into the Old Testament, or the Torah, which is the law. And the law, because Torah means law, and the Torah was the law that the extraterrestrials left the human beings. They left them with a set of laws called the Torah, or they called it the 10 Commandments, but it was really more than 10 Commandments. Now, this was left by their parents, and this was a set of laws of how humans were to govern themselves. And this was an experiment, because humans were to be the custodians, or actually the slaves of these extraterrestrial beings. They did the work of these extraterrestrial beings. And this is why you hear Muslims today call themselves slaves of Allah. They call themselves, actually the term Abdul means slave. They say Abdullah. When they say Abdullah, they're really saying that they're a slave of Allah. But what they're not going to tell you is that Allah is a plural, called Allahumma, and it's a plural, and that's why in the Quran they say we a lot of times. It says, well, we made this, and we did this, and we did that. See, the Quran deals with the plural aspect of God as well, just like the Old Testament. So when you deal with the concept of the Sabbath, and that the Jews deal with that, they got that from a group of extraterrestrial beings. They got that from a group of extraterrestrial beings, and they were left in charge. This is the point I want to get out. And I'm going to have to do a part 2 to this, because I only have so much time. But they were left in charge. This group of they weren't called Jews at the time. It was actually a certain tribe or whatever, called the tribe of Judah, believe it or not, in the Bible, the tribe of Yahudah. And they were left in charge or whatever, and they were basically a group that honored these extraterrestrial beings, and they left them in charge, and they were to be the rulers over man. But at some point, they got too bold for their bridges, and they basically stopped honoring these extraterrestrials. They stopped honoring these extraterrestrials or whatever, felt like they were the ultimate authorities. And this is where you get the various stories of religion that come from, and they started to replace different terms, and they started to say it was only one God, and they took out certain terms in the text and translated their own text and came up with the Bible, and they began to get off the path, and they lost the way. And they basically lost the way. So what happened was that there's always been a relationship, that's what I'm pointing out, with different various religions and these extraterrestrial beings. And I'm going to go into Christianity on part 2 of this video. I'll talk about Christianity and its relationship with the extraterrestrial beings. But this is the Jewish relationship. It's centered around the Sabbath. The Sabbath was always, like I said, a day to honor the extraterrestrial beings, or the Anunnaki, or the Elohim that created man. And this is all in your Bible. I'm not making this stuff up. You can look in your Bible. The thing is that you've been mistaught and miseducated by the religious leaders, because they stopped honoring the extraterrestrial beings, and they stopped even talking about it. But it's still in your Bible, even in the book of Ezekiel. When you deal with the book of Ezekiel, he sees a wheel. He talks about a wheel within a wheel. Well, actually, this wheel is a spacecraft. Ezekiel's looking at a spaceship or a spacecraft. And that's what he's dealing with as far as the book of Ezekiel. And he's telling you about different alien beings, or what they call the Elohim, that will go up and down from this wheel. And he's seen a vision of this wheel, because he was actually abducted by a group of extraterrestrials. He's seen a vision of this wheel, you see. And it's just so much. I mean, it's just so much about the secret relationship between the religions and the aliens or whatever. But that's as far as the Judaism aspect, that's pretty much the gist of what happened with the Jews. I mean, the Jews basically, like I said, had a pact with the aliens. They lost the way, began to pretty much look at themselves as the ultimate authorities, and then that's when, the advent of Christianity came in. If you wonder why different religions come in at so many different times, it's because the Jews lost the covenant. It weren't really the Jews, though. Like I said, it was a certain tribe. The tribe of Yahudah lost the covenant. And then they went into the whole Christian doctrine, and that's what I'll deal with in part 2. The Christians got the covenant. And let's see, we're going to find out in part 2 what the Christians did with their covenant with the extraterrestrials. So this is basically, like I said, the summary of it and the gist of it. All religions have a secret relationship with extraterrestrials, and many of them lost the way. Many of them stopped honoring the extraterrestrials, and so these extraterrestrials took them out of power. They took them out the power seat. So I'm going to get at you with part 2 of this video, and I'll be back in a moment. Thank you for watching this video. For more enlightening information, visit my website at 13scienceastrology.com. Peace and love.